appreciated. To get back to my story about my brother Tom, right as the Olympic trials were being and games were being aired so much this year on television, Cheryl, my wife, brought a Guidepost magazine to me and said, "Look at this." And it was stories about athletes who had aspired to the Olympics, the trials or in the games, and something very heartbreaking or disappointing happened to them. And immediately, I thought about Tom. And at that time, I didn't know that he had been selected to the Hall of Fame. And when I found out, I wanted to make sure that I had a little part that tells us things about him. Joel alluded to an injury when he was in North Texas his senior year. That injury occurred on the vault at the Tournament of Champions, the Meet of Champions they call it, in Houston, when the crossbar was set just a few inches, 6 or 8 inches I think, under the world record. And according to witnesses and pictures, he cleared it by a foot. He was the top pole vaulter in the nation. He was undefeated. A teammate who never beat him went to the trials and made the Olympics. This injury literally stopped his track career for the time of frame that it would put him in a chance to be in the Olympics. Not only that, but money. Back then they didn't have training camps for expiring Olympic athletes. You had to pay your own way. You had to have 5 or 6 volley poles. We couldn't afford to buy one for him. But anyway, that injury was a huge, huge disappointment to Tom and to me and everyone connected with him. But the thing that was probably most disappointing in Tom's potential not being reached was the fact that enters 8 events, wins all 8 of them, and that is inaccurate. He entered 10 events. 2 of them relays he ran on and didn't even count it. So, to give you another little example of his athletic talent and abilities, and found, Ross, you can appreciate this, I think. Tom was the only 6 foot and under light complected guy that I ever saw could stand flat-footed in front of a basketball goal and dunk it with 2 hands. Yeah, I'm sure there's some that could, but I never saw them. That is a measure of athletic ability. Most of you probably know what the decathlon is and the events that are in it. On one occasion, Tom came to see me in Lexington when I was coaching there. It was about 2 years out of college, and he was teaching and coaching in Albuquerque. And he came into the gym. We had a high jump stand set in there with the landing pit being a bunch of stacked up tumbling mats. And the mats then weren't soft rubber, they were hard, hard mat, and it wasn't a very good landing pit. It was a lot better than we'd accustomed to in competition back when we were landing in. When he ran down the end rail on that picture, what he had to land on after going 15 feet was some dug up dirt or maybe a little sand piled in with hay bales around it. In fact, that's how he tore up his ankle. When he lit in the pit, there was a chunk of straw in the dirt and just wrecked it. But anyway, he came into the gym and he said, I'd like to see how high I can high jump now. And he never really worked on the high jump. And back then, you didn't high jump and go over on your back. You didn't land in a pit that but one time that way, and that was the last time you were going to jump that way because it would kill you. Now they've got these air foam pits, and you know they've gone to the falls where flop and going over the back, and they're going to these ridiculous heights. But at the time, the world's record for the high jump was 6 foot 9 inches and some odd fractions. I don't remember for sure. But Tom came in and we set that up in his old Converse tennis shoes. He high jumped that day 6'8". That was without any workout. That's without any proper gear, equipment or anything else. So that had been a terrible disappointment for him. And you know, I had the pleasure of coaching a brother and 2 sons in the pole vault. James Ross was the state champion and set a state record that stood more years than I can remember. I had people tell me that the most difficult thing they ever had done was coach their son or a brother. I don't mean to sound like I'm bragging on my sons and brothers, but those 2, James and Tom, were the 2 of the easiest athletes to coach that I ever coached. And one other was Delbert Shire, Bobby Shire. But Delbert was a pole vaulter also. The problem with Delbert is he couldn't keep from breaking an arm because he didn't have a decent pitcher to jump in. Besides that, he flew like a duck when he went over. He didn't know how he was going to land. You know, after telling you that, I guess the best way I could describe Tom was that he was like a diamond in the rough that never got the chance to be shaped and polished to his potential. And it has, I think, been the biggest disappointment in his life when he looks back on that. But I want to tell you, the committee, that what a great thing you've done for Tom and me by selecting him. I think it will take away some of those bad memories. And one of the memories that ties into this is when he was recruited and decided to go to North Texas. Pop Noah was one of the most renowned coaches ever in high college back then. But he was just going out of business, and he didn't really know the pole vault, and he didn't know he did not teach the decathlon. They didn't have decathlon competition back then. But they had Texas A&M, who had an outstanding program and a great coach, had written Tom a letter that they wanted to recruit him to train him for the decathlon. And you just didn't back then get hardly any exposure, particularly with anything but what you paid for. And the letter, he was a nomad then. I mean, he was here a week and there a week and here a week. When the letter finally got to him, he had already signed with North Texas. Had he gone on then to Texas A&M, I think we would have seen him in the Olympics in the decathlon. And I am so proud to have been able to share this with a group that know athletics and know what the disappointment and the great feelings that can come from those. And I can tell you this, that this has erased some of that bad feelings and disappointment for Tom Black. Thank you all so much.